Thanks for tuning in to the Real Women Chronicles podcast. I am your international certified life coach, Tiadra Taylor. The sole purpose of this podcast is to get you from where you are now to where you want to be. Yes, it's time to break chains and to get unstuck. Thanks again for joining in. Let's begin. Hello, and thank you all for joining me for yet again another week of the Real Women Chronicles podcast. I am your host. I go by the name of Coach T. I am your virtual certified life and relationship coach. As always, I'm just going to give you about a 10 to 15 minute spill just to get you through that week and get you moving in the right direction. This week, I was led to talk on the topic of falling in love with yourself. And I am eager to provide you all with 5 helpful tips that I have actually followed myself. And I really believe that it will help someone out there. Tips that I have taken myself that has really helped me, who at one point in time was struggling with loving myself, right? And these are some tips that I have really taken on, and they helped me back in that time of my life when I really didn't love myself and I didn't know where to go, and these tips really helped. So I'm going to give you 5. Of course, I can go on for days probably with just tips, but these are going to be the 5 essential steps. Now, also, for many of you guys who may not know this already, and some of you guys who do, keep in mind that I have an interactive journal dropping on April the 2nd. The journal is called Breakup to Breakthrough. It's an interactive journal to really help those of you out there going through a breakup. It addresses the love for oneself in that journal. It addresses the battles that we face within and the things that we need to do and the work that we need to do, right, for ourselves. I really think that this journal can be utilized for even those who aren't quite going through relationship issues, but have a problem struggling with just finding worth within themselves and finding that pick me up that many of us need, but we don't know where to go. So this is a journal. Again, it's interactive. It's not just a journal of blank pages. This journal is filled with coaching questions that really help you to just see things in a different light. So again, it is dropping April 2nd. Feel free to go to my website and go ahead and put your order in now. Shoot me an email at contact@thewcpodcast.com. Just letting me know that you put your order in. Of course, I automatically get these confirmations, but I want that personal, response to come from me to you, just thanking you for ordering the journal and also letting you know that I have actually received your order. Okay, so again, Breakup to Breakthrough Interactive Journal. You can order it on my website. It's also available on Amazon. My website, by the way, is thewcpodcast.com. All right, so that being said, let's go ahead and jump into today's podcast. Again, the topic is falling in love with yourself. Now, listen, guys, many people do not know that loving yourself is truly the driving force behind every action we take in life. Okay? It is truly the love for oneself that protects you from that mate that doesn't know how to treat you right. It protects you from that lifestyle that's only going to bring you harm. See, it's the love for oneself that really drives the actions in our lives and our reactions. It's a love of oneself that really motivates you to achieve greatness. There's not many people who accomplish goals in life that don't have some type of love for oneself, because these goals that we set for ourselves, right, are typically goals that we want to achieve so that we can have that internal peace and happiness. Now, don't get me wrong. Many of us are parents, and of course we have set out with goals that potentially are to to ensure that our kids or our family live a better life. But ultimately, the love for oneself is really what drives it, because the love for oneself gives you the motivation that you need to believe in oneself. And as you guys know, none of us are accomplishing goals unless we first have the belief that we can. And that belief comes from some type of love, whether you recognize it or not. Sometimes we just get busy accomplishing goals and we don't pat ourselves on the back on the fact that these goals are being accomplished because we first loved ourselves enough to believe in ourselves. See, without the presence of self-love, I talk about this all the time. Many of you guys who tune in every week, you know. Without the presence of self-love, we often look to others to complete us, to accept us, and to really agree with the uniqueness within us. Because each and every one of us are extremely unique. And if you all grew up like similar to the way I did, or had similar experiences, many of us can probably touch and agree on the fact that there was no handbook or guidance to show us how to fall in love with yourself. You learn everything in school. But the one thing that many people are not taught is how to love themselves. So today, I want to address that for you all. I really want to address that. And I want to address the 5 essential steps that I think that any person can take. If you are struggling right now with learning how to love yourself, learning how to accept yourself, I encourage you to take on these 5 steps that have helped me. And I really, truly have faith that it will help you as well. So I'm going to jump right into the 5 steps that I'm referring to. Definitely number 1, it's important to understand that many of us don't realize that the lack of love can be passed down from generations. And it could be passed down from the people who loved us, who claimed to love us most. They didn't do it on purpose. They can't teach you how to love if they have yet to learn how to love themselves as well. So it's important to try to identify where it all started from and where it stemmed from. And the reason why I believe that that's important is because for many of us, going back and confronting the thing that hurt us can oftentimes be the first step to healing. None of us were born hating anyone, especially not ourselves, hating ourselves. So it's important. At some point in time, this self-hatred, this lack of self-love was taught. And if at all possible, if you can identify that point in time and confront it, I believe that you can truly get on a path of healing from it. Okay, number 2. Falling in love with yourself is all about being able to spend time with yourself. I have personally never met a person who loved themselves so deeply that they felt the need to have other people around to feel that feeling, if that makes sense. What I mean by that is, by most people who have learned to love themselves or have high love for themselves often can spend time alone. They don't have to be surrounded by a slew of people to feel important. But many people who don't will find themselves surrounded by people or needing social media distractions, around just to feel some type of importance and love for oneself. And the issue with that is whenever you take the time to focus externally on needing other people or needing these distractions, okay? It really doesn't feed the love for oneself. It actually strips you of it. Because as you guys know, in today's society, the society is really image driven. So when we focus on everything externally, we lose sight of all the things we have inside. Whenever you take time to spend with yourself, your own thoughts, your own body, mind, and soul, you begin to come to appreciate all of the many gifts you possess. And that is important, y'all. Is we stand up and we applaud everybody else's successes. We stand up and we applaud everybody else's gifts. How often do you do that for yourself? And it doesn't have to be in a braggadocious way. It could be silently. How often do you sit back and appreciate the fact that you know how to sing, or appreciate the fact that you know how to draw, or appreciate the fact that people come to you for advice, to be uplifted, or whatever it is, whatever God-given gift you have? See, the issue with many of us today is how we can begin to, how we don't appreciate ourselves, but we often cling to others to appreciate us. And we cling to others for our own affirmation. Or even worse, we compare ourselves to the ideologies of the ideologies of the world. Could you imagine how painful that is, to compare oneself or to cling to other people for your self-worth? So number 2, again, I know I went off on a rant there, as I always do. Number 2, again, spend time with yourself. Number 3 is all about acceptance. Accepting the things that you cannot change and embracing the things that you can. You'd be surprised how many people obsess about the things they cannot change. They spend their time and energy harping over things that cannot be changed, and you leave no energy to conquer the things that can. And you wonder why you can't accomplish that goal, because you're harping over things that cannot be changed. In order to really, really love yourself, you got to be willing to let go of the fact that you don't like your nose that was passed down from generations to generations, or you don't like your color hair, your color eyes. Now, granted, I know that there are ways to change these things, surgically or whatever context, but hypothetically speaking, okay? If there is something that you cannot change about yourself, it's time to stop harping over it. It is getting in the way of your joy. It is getting in the way of your happiness. And most of all, it is getting in the way of your love for oneself. Number 4, disrupt negative talk. Okay? If you are constantly speaking negative words over your life, you become that which you speak. I tell you guys this all the time. If this is your first time hearing me, go back 90-something episodes and move forward, and you will see that I talk about this all the time. I even remind myself of it whenever I need to, because I understand the battle with the mind, depending on how you were reared, and the thoughts that feel comfortable for you to resort to in the time of frustration. However, I often force myself to redirect it, and I'm encouraging you to do the same, because you become that what you speak. Manifestation is key, okay? Your mind will follow your words, whether it believes them or not. Hear that, catch that. I want you to catch that. Your mind will follow your words, whether it believes them or not. Again, number 4, disrupt that negative talk, that negative chatter that is telling you that you aren't worth it, that is telling you you're not lovable. It's time to disrupt it and